is often a time of big milestone events, things like graduation, first communion, and weddings.
It can also bring on a lot of financial pressure. So how can you celebrate with your friends and family without breaking the bank? Whelan is a professor of consumer science and the director of the Money Relationships and Equality Initiative at UW-Madison. Welcome back, Christine. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
These things do seem to come in a cluster all at once. So where do you begin planning?
They do. So whether you are a guest or whether you are actually having an event and hosting an event that is worth celebrating, there are some financial considerations to think about.
Yeah.
Let's start with, let's say you're a guest and you're getting invited, whether it's a graduation, a wedding, a First Holy Communion, all these kinds of events that we have in the spring. I think the first thing we want to do is to recognize that all of us have a budget, and that no matter how many wonderful events we want to celebrate, we have a limited amount of money to work with. So think about your monthly budget before you even begin. And then I think the best way to do it is to break it down into, like, who is inviting you? Is it a family member, a close friend? Is it a friend? Is it an acquaintance? And you might set up a different budget depending on who the person is in relation to you. And then after that, remember that just because a lot of people you think are spending tons of money does not mean that you have to, if your budget doesn't allow it, right? A lovely framed picture of either of the invitation to the event or a picture of you and the celebrant can really make a great gift and not break the budget.
That's a good idea, because you have to bring something. You feel so much pressure. You can't show up empty-handed.
Right. But some of those non-hugely monetary gifts can sometimes be the most meaningful.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're setting up a registry, let's say at Target or something, you should give people a variety. You know, not everything is $300.
Absolutely. So if you're the one who is having the event, it's really important to be mindful of other people's financial situation. So, for example, what you don't want to do is host a big dinner, not tell everybody that at the end the check is going to be split multiple ways, right? You don't want to surprise people with added expenses when you're inviting them to celebrate with you. And also you can actually give people some guidance in advance on if there can be multiple events around a graduation weekend. This is what we're planning on doing at this point. This is how much it will likely cost.
Oh, that's a good idea.
This can give people a way to pick and choose what they feel like they comfortably can attend.
Are there traditional rules, the traditional rules about who pays for what?
Yes.
Do they, I mean, for weddings, for example, do they still exist, or is, in this modern day, you know, is that no longer appropriate?
So the traditional rule is that the groom's family would pay for the rehearsal dinner, the bride's family would pay for the wedding. These days now we are seeing more and more couples contributing to or paying for their weddings entirely on their own. So there is certainly no kind of set rule. It is a choose-your-own adventure, which can be good, but can also put a lot of pressure on people to want to have these events the traditional and good way without the budget to do it. So one of the things I teach in my Consuming Happiness class at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, I talk about these issues, and I say, listen, rather than spending money on one day that you're trying to make perfect, rather than spending money on an extravagant ring or something like that, instead think about investing in a future together and actually sharing that with your guests and people who are celebrating with you, so that maybe you can all come together to build that future or to give money to a particular charity. So you're having a larger vision than just material items at a big party.
Oh, I love that.
What does the average wedding cost? It's like $20,000?
It is, yes. It's more than $20,000.
I mean, what a great charity you could, I mean, all that money you could give to a charity.
Absolutely.
And keep the wedding more simple.
Sure, or a down payment on a house. Or paying back your college loans. I mean, there are so many things that this money could go toward. We feel so much social pressure, though, to spend lots of money on particular events. But the more money you spend does not guarantee you more happiness.
Yes, the marriage divorce rate stays about the same.
It absolutely does. So.
And what about like religious ceremonies that are a little less black and white? Things like first communions and bat mitzvahs and stuff like that.
So my daughter is actually receiving her first Holy Communion this Saturday, and it's a time of great celebration, and I've invited some friends over who asked about this. And I didn't know until I looked it up that cash is actually one of the recommended gifts. But if you are uncomfortable with that, like I am, giving cash to a nearly 8-year-old, then there are other things like little small pieces of jewelry or a donation to a charity.
Yeah, that's always very nice.
Yeah, so that is something that we're encouraging as well.
Tis the season.
Tis the
Graduations,
season.
first reunions.
Many celebrations without breaking the bank.
Yes.
There you go.
Very
good advice. Christine, good to see you. as
Good
usual.
to see you. The school year's almost over.
It is.
Well, hopefully we'll see you over the summer.
Absolutely. There's more happiness to come in the summer.
Good.
We'll be right back with your forecast.